want to talk a little bit about Shavuos. I want to go into the ins and outs of Shavuos. Or Shai didn't show up yet? Okay, he will. Huh? Okay. So the Gemara, I want to talk about Shavuos. I want to get a very, very interesting, what do you call it over here. There's a Gemara in Psachim, and Daf Samach Ches Amud Beis, 68b. Now the Gemara says like this: Rav Yosef, the famous Amora Rav Yosef, B'Yom Ha'Tzarta. Yom Ha'Tzarta is on Shavuos. Amar, Rav Yosef said, Avdi li igla tilsa. Rav Yosef said, I want you to, we're not in the Chumash. You don't need the Chumashim now. We're going to talk about Shavuos. We're going to do it next week. I'm doing Shavuos now because of the scheduling. So Rav Yosef on Yom Ha'Tzarta. Yom Ha'Tzarta is Shavuos, what we call Shavuos, Atzeres. Amar, he said, Avdi li igla tilsa. He said, I want you to make me what's called an igla tilsa. Means there are different opinions of whether it's a 3-year-old calf or the third calf out of the stomach that a mother's given birth. Either way, the Gemara says that's the finest cut of meat. He said, I want you to make me the best cut of meat, a nice thick steak to celebrate Shavuos. And then I guess most people eat cheesecake. So there are different reasons why you eat cheesecake. Most people, why do you eat cheesecake on Shavuos? Because you like it. But the Mount Sinai, Har Sinai was called Har Gavnunim. That's one of the names of Har Sinai. The word Gavnunim is closely related to the word Gvina, which is cheese. There are other reasons that the Jewish people only ate cheese on that, they only ate dairy on that. They're different. It's a custom. If your word is custom. I don't know if you like cheesecake. Do you like cheesecake? Neither do I. You like cheesecake? No. Down with cheesecake, yeah. No, my mother always tried to get me to eat cheesecake. It tastes just like ice cream. Well, I'll take the ice cream. Because we know it doesn't taste like ice cream. If it tasted like ice cream, you wouldn't have to spend time baking cheesecake. You could just serve ice cream. We all know it doesn't taste like ice. That's what I do. That's my minhag, is to fulfill the minhag of milchiks on Shavuos. I'll have either a chocolate bar, an ice cream bar, or whatever it is. So everybody else eats cheesecake and ice cream bars. So the what do you call it? The Rav Yosef said he wants the finest cut of meat. Why? Amar, he said, Elo hayoma de kakarim, if not for this day, that the Torah, Kama Yosef Ika Beshuka. How many guys out there would be named Yosef? There, look at all these Yosefs running around. And if not for the day the Torah was given, which is Shavuos, so I, Rav Yosef, how did I become Rav Yosef? Rav Yosef was considered the greatest sage of his generation. How did I become Rav Yosef? Only because of Torah. And Rashi, you've learned enough Rashi to know that you got to hear the words of Rashi precisely. Rashi says, what does it mean if not this day? Shalamadati Torah, I learned Torah. V'nisromamti, I was elevated because of Torah. Harei anoshim harbe bashuk sheshman Yosef. There's a lot of guys out there named Yosef. Another Yosef is Joe, right? He'd be umabe ni levenam. What difference would there be between me and them? I'd be another Joe. I would be just another Joe. So in order to pay tribute to the day the Torah was given, so Rav Yosef said, make me a steak. Okay, that's what the Gemara says. What does that mean? The plain meaning means that Rav Yosef became Rav Yosef. Rav Yosef had encyclopedic knowledge. Ironically, he was blind. Rav Yosef was blind, the Gemara says, which is one of the reasons he had the encyclopedic knowledge, is because when you're blind, when a person's blind, so they got to memorize it all. They can't go looking at a source. We have a kid in the other yeshiva, by the way, who's completely blind. He has a computerized braille thing that he hits a button, and at any masechta, Gittin, Babakama, Nadarim, whatever he pushes the button, he's got it all on there. It's all got. Shabbos, he's got to use regular braille. He learns like a machine. He's always upbeat and a good one. It's unbelievable. It is absolutely on the way. What's that? No. There is another kid in Israel in the yeshiva from England. This kid's from America. And he's unbelievable. So Rav Yosef was blind. All right, set that aside. We're going to come back to that in a little while. So the plain meaning over here is that Rav Yosef was, what do you call it, that Rav Yosef was celebrating. Now, previously, the Gemara said, on the same page actually, the Gemara says, what do you do to celebrate Yontif? Now I'm going to throw you for a loop here. What do you do to celebrate Yontif? So the Gemara goes through a debate over here. You have Pesach, you have Sukkot, you have Shavuos, you have Yontif. What is a Jewish man supposed to do on Yontif? So the Gemara says, well, you have a choice. You could either spend the day eating, drinking, what we call celebrating, or you could spend the day in more spiritual pursuits, going to shul, learning Torah. It's up to you how you want to spend the day. So the Gemara says, well, there's a compromise position. Either it's kulo l'Hashem, the entire day is devoted to Hashem, which means it's a way of saying you go to the shul and you learn and you daven, that sort of thing, or it's kulo lachem, it's all for you. But even the all for you is for Hashem, ultimately, just a way of saying, between me and you, Gemara is great, but if it's a choice between Gemara and a thick steak, listen, no, I'm a Gemara guy, let's call a spade a spade, let's call a steak a steak, at the end of the day, as much as I love davening, right, a good fresh pizza, so depends who you are. There are people who, I'm not into eating. I met people like that. I'm not friends with them, but there are people who say, I'm really not into eating. I have a friend of mine that told me he has no taste for meat whatsoever. This guy also, he's like one of these, you look at the guy and you want to ask him for a bracha. He says, I don't enjoy meat. I don't enjoy, what do you call it? Why we hang out together, it's an accident of nature. But at the end of the day, so then the Gemara says there's a compromise position. The best thing is split it up in half. Chatzi l'Hashem, chatzi lachem. On Yontif, spend time in shul, learn a bit of, then eat, drink, you have to celebrate. In order for Simcha, the halacha says you have to have wine and meat. Meat you don't have to have, but it's a mitzvah to have meat, specifically beef, on Yontif. On Yontif you should have beef, red meat, beef. Shabbos, no. Shabbos it's whatever, because there's a difference. Yontif is for simcha, for happy, for rejoicing. Shabbos is for delight. So whatever delights you on Shabbos, if you happen to be a guy like I know a guy likes fish more than meat. So he has fish on Shabbos, he doesn't like chicken. This has no taste for chicken. Some people like meat more. So Shabbos is whatever you enjoy. Do you like gefilte fish? You ever had gefilte fish? Nick, you ever had gefilte fish? You like it? No, it's worse than the worst. All right, it's worse than the worst. There are two types of gefilte fish: bad and worst. Right? Before I was married, so I'd go the problem is every Jewish woman thinks that she makes the best gefilte fish in the world. And I can't stand the stuff. And every time before I was married, you go to somebody's house. Hey, so would you like some gefilte? No, I don't do fish. Try mine. Right? It's always try mine, right? And what I'm thinking is, lady, I would skydive before I would try, with or without a parachute, before I would try that gefilte fish. I'm married almost 40 years, over 40 years. My wife has never, ever made homemade gefilte fish, ever. Once in a while, they like they have the frozen ones that you get in the store-bought frozen ones. And once in a while, I'll eat that because it doesn't taste like gefilte fish. That's the only reason. So, and even gefilte fish, you know why they do that? You know why we eat gefilte fish? It has a halachic basis. Because Shabbos is prohibited to select. You're not allowed to separate things, the good from the bad from the good. Fish has a lot of bones in it. And when you eat fish, unless it's filleted fish, it's bones, so then you could easily there are all sorts of halachic issues. So the tradition became to, instead of serving regular fish with bones in it, that sort of thing, make some sort of fish cutlet where there's nothing to separate. By me, it is. I separate the whole thing from my plate. But other than that, there's no forbidden separation. Okay, but Shabbos, if you like it, that's what you do. Shabbos is for delight. Yontif is for what's called simcha. And the Gemara says, "Ein simcha ela basar v'yayin." Meat and wine. That's simcha. So the Gemara says, adopt a compromise position. Half the day, do something spiritual, daven, learn, and half the day, enjoy the day. Okay? Then the Gemara makes a puzzling statement. The Gemara says, everybody agrees that on Sukkot or Pesach, you can do whatever you want. You want to learn all day. You want to eat whatever you want. On Shavuos, the day the Torah was on Shavuos, everybody agrees at least half the day has to be spent doing what? Studying. And the Gemara says the opposite. The Gemara says, everybody agrees on Shavuos, half the day has to be spent eating, drinking, and celebrating. And the Gemara says, why? Because that's the day the Torah was given, which makes absolutely no sense, right? To the contrary, if that's the day the Torah was given, everybody should agree you should spend half the day studying Torah, right? Problem. That's what the Gemara says. Okay, so we have two issues over here. Let's go back to Rav Yosef. Rav Yosef says, if not for Torah, there are a lot of Yosefs out there. So the plain meaning is he's talking about other people. So I heard a profound explanation from Rabbi Mendel Weinbach Zatzal, the Rosh Yeshivat Ohr Somayach. He said, you know what Rav Yosef was talking about? Rav Yosef was talking about himself. He said, if not for Torah, that gave me grounding and stability and a focus in life, Kama Yosef Ika B'Shuka, how many Yosefs there are out there? How many of me would be out there? I'd be a fragmented personality. I'd be all over the place. One day I'd be involved in money, and the next day I'd be involved in entertainment, and one day I'd be gambling and traveling. I'd be moving around. Why? Because I'm looking for something. What are you looking for? I'm looking for something. Because I can't find it. I can't find what I'm looking for. Torah gives a person a certain focus, a purpose, a goal. We're heading for a goal. We're heading for somewhere. And a person has to know where they're heading for. If you don't know where you're heading for, so each day you're trying to find something else. Maybe I'll find it over here. Maybe I'll find it over here. I think I told you guys once, when I first got married, I never had a great sense of direction. And when I first got married, my wife's from Columbus, Ohio. Not my fault, that's where she's from. And I'm from Chicago, Ir HaKodesh. And so we had a drive from Chicago to Columbus. Chicago to Columbus is a 7-hour drive straight on I-70. Once you hit I-70, it's about a 6.5, 7-hour drive. Six hours if she's not in the car with me, 7 if she is. Right? That's Columbus. So we got to drive for it. So we left Chicago. It's late at night. My father, all of a sudden, he sat down with me and he had explained to me to get out of Chicago, to get to I-70 was one of these. There's like a 12-lane highway. And you had to get into the 3rd lane from the right and then hop over to the 5th lane from the left, one of those jobs in order to catch it. So he's explaining to me for about 10 minutes how to do it. And then he looks at me, he goes, you got it? I said, yeah. And we both knew that I didn't. And okay, so my wife and I get in the car. We're leaving, and I was in a Camaro. Nice car, by the way. And yeah. Oh, sorry. What do you call it? So we get in the car. It's about 10:30 at night. We start driving, and I hit that 3rd lane, and then I jump over, and I got that sinking feeling like, I don't know if I did this right. Let's drive. So we drive for about an hour and a half, and all of a sudden we see now it's about midnight. We see a sign that says Detroit, 235 miles. Now that's bad, because Chicago is here, Columbus is here, Detroit is here. So I pull off, it's midnight, I pull off into a truck stop at midnight, and there's a lady behind the counter. You can imagine, a lady working in a truck stop at midnight. And I pull in and I say, hi, can you tell me how to get to Columbus? She goes, 1 second. You go, Roy. She calls Roy. Roy's a trucker. Roy comes out, a bunch of truckers. Roy comes out. He looks like he stepped right off the cover of Truckers magazine. He's got the mutton chop sideburns, pot belly. He's got a beer in one hand, a cheeseburger in the other, Marlboro in his mouth. The typical. He couldn't. And his name. He goes, Roy. I said, Roy, tell this guy how to get to Columbus. So Roy looks at me and goes, well, where are you coming from? I said, Chicago. He looks at me and goes, Chicago? Boy, are you messed up. Just like that. And he called out the other truckers. Roy, they're all named Roy, by the way. Roy. This guy coming from Chicago. I wasn't amused. So we got in the car, and I learned an important lesson. You're trying to get somebody, you better know how to get there. Otherwise, you're going to get lost. Then you're going to meet people like Roy. And that was one of the best Musser schmoozes I ever got in my life, by the way. That's a long, long time, over 40 years ago. Roy gave me a piece of Musser. Boy, are you messed up. He was just so amused, and somehow, I'm just sitting there like, I'm looking at these truckers, looking with a black hat and a jacket, and I just want to get out of here alive because he doesn't mistake me for the cheeseburger, and just get me out of here. Okay, so eventually we got to Columbus. I messed up on the way back also because going from Columbus to Chicago, we ended up in West Virginia. Don't ask. Oh, that was even less amusing. Okay, so. How did I do that? That's a different question, but whatever it is. So a person who doesn't have direction, you end up a fragmented personality. You're chasing something that you don't even know what you're looking for. You don't know what you're chasing. You don't know where you're going. My brother lives in Tulsa. Have you ever been to Tulstone? Tulstone's a little town about 20 minutes out of Yerushalayim. So my brother's walking one night, and he sees a guy on the curb with a suitcase. So the guy says to him with a French accent, he says to him in Hebrew, "Where's number 17 Eliyahu Hanavi Street in Bnei Brak?" So my brother says to him, well, there is an Eliyahu Hanavi Street in Bnei Brak, but you're not in Bnei Brak, you're in Tulstone. So he says, no, I'm in Bnei Brak. So my brother says, well, no, because I've been living here for over 30 years, and I'm pretty sure that this is Tulstone. And the guy says, no, this is Bnei Brak. What happened? It turned out that this was a French tourist, from guy. He got into a cab in Yerushalayim, told the Arab driver that he needs to go to 17 Eliyahu Hanavi Street in Bnei Brak. The Arab, understood that this guy's absolutely clueless. He drove 20 minutes, pulled into Tulstone. He said, this is Bnei Brak. There's 17. He pointed to the bill. He said, that's 17 Eliyahu Hanavi Street. The guy got out, took out his suitcase. In the meantime, his jacket, he had left it draped over the front seat of the car. And so the Arab also helped himself to his wallet. It was a bad night for him. And so then my brother invited him into the house and sent him on his, gave him something, sent him on his merry way. But you got to know where you're going. If you don't know where you're going, you're not going to get there. Rav Weinbach said he's a fragmented personality. I met a guy, I knew a kid who told me about his father. His father was a lawyer, he was working for a firm, billing at $600 an hour. That's more than teachers in Ohr Somayach get, by the way. I don't know if you're aware of that. He was billing it over $600 an hour, and that wasn't his main source of parnasa. His main source of livelihood was real estate. His father was rich out of his gills. So his mother, and the kids were out of the house. He hit 50 years old. He's got all the money in the world, and he's bored silly, and he didn't know what to do with his life. So you could tell me his wife suggested he take a vacation and go to Bolivia. He'll go for a vacation to Bolivia. By the way, the guy's name was Yosef. I knew the guy from high school. His name was Yosef. Go on a vacation to Bolivia. You know as well as I do, if you never played Risk, you would have never heard of Bolivia. And the only reason any of us know where it is. And you know it's true. I'll give you 10 minutes, go find Bolivia on a map, right? And about all they have in Bolivia is cliffs, where buses kind of constantly go driving off of. And that's a great place to go for vacation. What happened to this guy? What happened to this guy was, he's got no purpose, there's no direction. Rav Yosef is telling us that without Torah, he himself would be that. That he himself would be all those Yosefs out there. And we see in our day and age that this addiction and that nonsense and gambling and everybody's into drugs, whatever, you're looking for something, which I understand. So Rav Yosef says, if not for Torah, I have to celebrate. This is the day Torah was given. That's idea number one. Idea number two is, let's go back. Yosef was blind. If you listen to Rashi, if a blind man would walk into the room, if any sense that a person would leave, ask Kenny, take a survey. If a person had a choice to be deaf or blind, what would people choose? Deaf. I forget. Nobody wants. That's the last thing anybody wants, is to be blind. If a guy would walk into the room and he's blind, it's the most pronounced difference between two people is one who could see and one who can't see. What did Rav Yosef say? Rav Yosef says, if not for Torah, there are a lot of guys out there named Yosef. What difference would there be between me and them? I don't understand, Rav Yosef, what difference would there be between you and them? They could see and you can't see. Rav Yosef says, nah, that's a minor difference. There's a bigger difference between two people. A person who has learned and absorbed Torah and has a Torah vision and outlook on life, and a person who hasn't learned Torah, that difference is a more pronounced difference than a person who's physically blind and a person who can see. That's what Rav Yosef is saying. That a person, you've learned Torah, you've absorbed Torah. If you've absorbed Torah, so then you've got a different set of visionary eyes in your head. You've got life, you're looking at things differently. You understand significances. You understand, a person takes a look at, Biden said this and he said this. A person with a Torah outlook understands, they get excited. You don't know what he said, and whether it's reporting to you certainly isn't what they said in the back rooms and so on. So a person who never learned Torah, or a person who lives his life without Torah, he becomes an emotional cucumber, and he gets all, a person at a Talmud Chacham, somebody who's learned Torah, he sees it, because that's what you're doing with Gemara, by the way. When you're learning Gemara, what you're doing is, when you experience Gemara, what's happening is, you've got also this information, a lot is going on, and you're cutting through to the crux of the issue, through all the layers, you're getting to the main point. And that's the main point in life also. A person who studies Torah, imagine you have to make a decision. Your wife and you have to make a decision. You decide who you're going to marry. All right, that's not hard. That's not hard. She got money or she don't got money? Okay, you got to decide who you're going to marry, and you got to decide where you're going to live. Should you take a certain job? So there are different factors. Well, the boss is mean, but the pay is good, but the location, the people who work there, and if you've got a Torah vision, you're able to cut through and move away the trivialities to get to what's really important. And Rav Yosef is telling you the vision of a person who's learned Torah, it's a different head. Why is it that the greatest sages of the generation, the biggest Tamid, the Gedolei Ador, people go to them with what looks like a massive problem, and like that, they cut through. And they show you that that's not what you thought it is, and here's a solution which you could never have thought of. And where did they get that from? That's from a lifetime of using the brain. They're exercising their brain. So they've got a different vision in all areas of life. Now, let's go back for a second. Why would it be, you're with me so far, why would it be that on Shavuos, why did the Gemara say that you celebrate, on Shavuos you have to have meat and wine, because that's the day the Torah was given? You were going to say something when I asked that earlier. What were you going to say?
I was going to ask, what was the contradiction between saying that half the day was for learning and half the... And then
Not a contradiction, but instinctively, if I told you there are two choices, there's eating meat and drinking wine, and there's learning Torah. And I say to you, well, Shavuos, the day the Torah was given, therefore you should spend half the day doing which one? Which one do you think would fill the blank? Learning Torah. Yet the Gemara doesn't fill the blank with learning. The Gemara says, well, since the Torah was given, you got to eat meat and wine.
No, I thought because they said they said that you spend the day for yourself.
Do what you want. But Shavuos, you could spend the whole day learning Torah on Pesach, you could spend the whole day learning Torah on Sukkot. On Shavuos, you got to have half a day that you're eating meat and drinking wine.
I wasn't sure you said
Yeah. Yeah.
That's two different places.
Okay, that's what the Gemara says.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just wasn't sure
Okay.
what the contradiction was.
No problem. Yes, Azriel.
I want to say it's not a contradiction, because Torah was given to study entire year, but the day the Torah was given, we can celebrate.
That's true, but you still, but every single person in the room, when I asked the question, your gut reaction was that you should spend at least half the day learning Torah, because that's the day the Torah was given.
You can't do that if you're hungry.
You can't do that every day, but Pesach you're allowed to do it. In Sukkot, Pesach we're always hungry because we can't eat chametz. But you're what do you call it? Okay, so let's try to understand. One of the, you were saying something?
No.
Okay. One of the biggest misconceptions. Think to yourself, before you got to yeshiva, or before you got to know people in the Haredi community, one of the biggest misconceptions that I've come across, which is true because I was also, before I became an extremist, I also had this view. It looked like, people from the outside look at this, you got a whole bunch of blackies running around. Black hat, black jacket, black tie, black, everything's black. And a bunch of women with some sort of what do you call it? Some sort of handkerchief on their head, running around, and a bunch of kids, and everybody's studying Torah. It looks like from the outside, these religious people have made some sort of agreement with God. We will sacrifice all of the pleasures of this world for some sort of abstract reward in the world to come, which we spoke about earlier in the week. There is no bigger mistake that a person could make. A person who lives a life of Torah, there is no pleasure that's denied to a Torah Jew. Torah Jews engage in all pleasures. The difference is that it's done with a certain amount of self-control. And anybody who's engaged in pleasure without self-control, whatever, eventually, take a lemon meringue pie. You have a lemon meringue pie. You enjoy the first piece? You enjoy the second piece? What if you take no prisoners? and you just take the whole thing down. When's the next time you want to eat lemon? I can't even look at lemon meringue pie now. Why not? You got to the point that anybody indulges in life. If you're out of control, you can get to the point where you no longer enjoy it. It even becomes There was a one of the what was it? Hugh Hefner. Hugh Hefner, who was not somebody who studied a lot of Musar, and Hugh Hefner got to a point in life where he said he was one of the publishers of one of the first poopy magazines. And Hugh Hefner said, he got to the point, I once read a quote from him, he said, "I have no pleasure left in life except soup." How pathetic is that? That's pretty sad, right? This is a guy, he had all of life, say, you get, it becomes loathsome. Torah, the mistake people make is they think, well, if you engage in a life of Torah, so then you're not going to have any physical, you're going to get something in the world to come. No, that's a big mistake. Torah Jews enjoy this world. That's what Rav Yosef is saying. This is the day the Torah was given. How do I celebrate it? With the thickest piece of this worldliness you could find. Because the reason I enjoy a steak is because I've had Torah. If I don't have Torah, I don't enjoy the steak. The steak becomes an ends in and of itself. For us, it's a means to an ends. I need steak because, and I always tell you guys this, you have to be honest with yourself how much of the physical world you need. You can't go and become an ascetic overnight. We are physical people. I need a piece of cake for dessert, and I need a steak once in a while, and I need not a piece of cheesecake. I need you to eat the cheesecake, but I need something. I need to play ball once in a while. I need to read a good book once in a while. That's what we're human beings. If a person's a higher level, so he doesn't need that. He doesn't need that. We have to be. How much do we need? Enough to maintain your balance and remain an upbeat human being. That's what we need. You got to be upbeat. If you're a person, if you say, you know what, I'm going to, listen, after all, I'm religious, so I'm not going to enjoy dessert anymore. No more dessert for me. And all you do is walk around all day crabby and cranky because all you're thinking about is that piece of apple pie that you should have had and you wish, you're not holding by that level. If you decide, I want to try to cut back on the snacks, and you cut back on the snacks and you feel energized, and then you daven better, and you treat people better, and you behave and you're a nicer person, good, you know what? That's a good challenge for you to take on. If all that happens is because you tried to deprive yourself, and now you're snapping at people, and same thing with sleep. What do you call it? The Reb Chaim Kanievsky used to sleep an hour and a half, 2 hours at night. This Reb Elyashiv slept 2.5 hours at night. Try it. You sleep 2 hours. If I try to sleep 2 hours a night, I'm gonna be, you walk around like a tiger all day. You need, how much sleep do you need? There's how much you need and how much you want. There's a balance. How much you need and how much you want. Okay, I want to take this a step further. Did you hear the Gemara? The Gemara says, it's another Gemara. The Gemara says that at Har Sinai, God held the mountain over the Jewish people, right? That you've heard? He held the mountain over the Jewish people. What does the Gemara say? How's the Gemara put it? Kafa aleim es hahar kegigis. He held the mountain over the Jewish people like a barrel. And he said to the Jewish people, Im tekablena mutav. If you accept the Torah, very good. V'im lav, if you don't accept the Torah, sham take for asim. That's where you're going to be buried. That's what the Gemara says. Held the mountain over the Jewish people like a barrel. And he said, if you accept the Torah, great. If you don't, that's where you're going to be buried. So there are two problems with the Gemara. And again, every statement of the Gemara, the words are precise. They didn't just happen to throw in the first sentence the statement that came to mind. Okay, there are two problems. Problem number one, if you're standing under a mountain and I drop a mountain on you, would you say that Sham take for Aschem, that's where you're going to be buried? Or Po take for Aschem, this is where you're going to be buried? Which one would you choose? This, Pote. Why does the Gemara say there? You're going to be buried there. God said to the Jewish people, if you don't accept the Torah, you're going to be buried. I would have said, if I was writing the Gemara, I would have said, Pote k'vuraschem. If you drop a mountain on somebody, he's very, very po. You're not Sham, you're po. You're very po. So why does the Gemara say Sham? You're going to be buried over there. Question number one. Question number 2, look up for a second. Everybody look up. You are now looking at the underside of a mountain. No one in history has ever seen it. You know, they have all these, what do they call it, extreme sports? Extreme sports, that's what they call extreme sport. We call it extremely dumb behavior. What they call extreme sports, we call extremely dumb and dangerous behavior. Okay, so got to call it something. So they call it extreme sports. What these guys go climbing mountains? You got Everest, K2, all these places. Some of them even make it back. Right? They go climbing these mountains. The Sherpas always make it back. The people, who knows what happens to them? An avalanche, they fall. Okay, that sounds like great fun. I can't wait not to do that. So you look up. Now you're looking at the underside of a mountain. No one in history, no mountain climber or extreme has ever seen the underside of a mountain. They've seen the tops of mountains. Right? They've never seen the underside. You look it up. What is that? That's at the bottom of a mountain. Now, what would your reaction be if you looked up and this was the underside of a mountain, like the Jewish people at Har Sinai? I'd look up.
There's dirt in my eye.
Yeah, dirt in your eye. I'd say, what's holding that up? What's holding that thing up? Hashem. And Hashem says, if you don't accept the Torah, I'm going to drop it on you. What would your reaction be? I am so Torah. I am so Torah. Yeah, Torah, my favorite. My favorite, Torah and flossing. Those are my favorite activities. Yeah, let's do that. Like you say to the dentist, everybody lies. Do you floss? Oh, all the time. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I jog and I floss. Yeah. Those are, yeah. Liar. And everybody's afraid you're going to get yelled at by the dentist. You ever notice that? Oh, I don't want the dentist to get up. What do you think he's going to drill your ear? What could he possibly do? All he'll do is make more money off you. Okay, got that off my chest. So yeah, now, I understand. Now, let me ask you a following question. Imagine your brother comes running into the house in a cold sweat. He's, what's wrong? He says, I was outside, and I saw a cat. But to me, the cat seemed like a leopard. Okay, so he's a chicken. But I understand the analogy. He wants me to understand how afraid he is of the cat. To him, a cat is like, there are people are afraid of cats, especially women. Afraid of cats. I was like, let's take a, yeah. I saw dogs better. People are afraid of dogs. There was a poodle, but to me it was like a Doberman. Okay, again, you're the biggest puppy in the room, but okay. I understand you're trying to make me understand how afraid you are of the dog, that it's like a Doberman. What if your brother came running in and why are you so, what happened? I saw a Doberman, but to me it was like a poodle. That doesn't make any sense. If I saw a Doberman, I would say, I saw a Doberman, but to me it was a Doberman. That's enough. Dobermans are enough, even though it sounds like a Jewish last name, but it isn't. Chaim Zalman Doberman. No. It's a Doberman's a Doberman. Okay, any way you cut it. We once went on a trip here at Ohr Somayach. They took us on one of the last trips I ever made they take us down to Ein Gedi. So we start on the trail, and we go on the trail, and all of a sudden I see a sign that says, beware of bobcats. I'm thinking to myself, now what am I supposed to do with this information? Right? Why? Okay, beware. So if I see a bobcat, what am I supposed to do? Don't mess, bro. I'm aware of you. What are you telling me this so that I should know this is the last thing I'm ever going to do? Why are you telling me this? So if I had a gun or an AK-47, say, okay, I understand. Get ready. What are you telling me? So, I know, I got it. So that when I see a bobcat, I should say Shema because those are my last moments on earth. And that explains why I've never made another trip with Ohr Somayach. I'm not interested in bobcats. So why would a guy come in? If a guy said, I saw a Doberman, but to me it was like a puppy, you'd say the guy's strange. Just say it's a Doberman. Okay. If you looked up and you saw a mountain, and what does the Gemara say? He held the mountain over the Jewish people like a barrel. Right? That makes it. If you told me he held a barrel over the Jewish people, and it was like a mountain, so I understand the analogy. You were so afraid of the barrel, to you it seemed like a mountain. But the Gemara says he held a mountain over them like, I don't understand. They looked up, just a mountain. It's a barrel. That does not make any sense. If I saw a mountain over my head, I would say, looks like a mountain. A mountain. It looks like it's a mountain. Get me out of here. You understand? The analogy doesn't make sense. So what's going on here? So the plain understanding of the Gemara is that God threatened the Jewish people. The threat, that's what the plain, there's a much deeper idea here. And the idea is like this. If I take, let's say this is a barrel. and I invert the barrel. There's a person over here, and I put the barrel down on the person. What happens to that person when there's an inverted barrel on him? He's trapped. He can't get out. On the other hand, nothing can get in. He's surrounded by the barrel. The Gemara is saying God held the mountain over the Jewish people, a hollowed out mountain like a barrel. Otherwise, I don't need the barrel analogy. He held it over them like a barrel. A barrel's a hollow item. And he was saying to the Jewish people, if you accept the Torah, good. If not, that's where you're going to be buried. What does that mean? The Gemara is telling us what the essence of Torah is. If you live a Torah life, you're within four walls, the restrictions of Torah, the rules of Torah, the limitations of Torah, you're going to be restricted. On the other hand, meaning you can't get out. You're not allowed to go out. On the other hand, nothing can penetrate in. That means if we're within Torah, on the one hand, we've got limitations. On the other hand, we've also got protection from the vulgarity and the ugliness and the lawlessness of that world out there. So God's saying to the Jewish people, it's not a threat. I'm telling you what Torah is. I'm giving you Torah now. It looks to the uninitiated like, oh boy, we're trapped. Just realize, if you're willing to get within the protective walls of Torah, mutav, it's the best way to live as a human being in this world. If not, sham tehek furaschem. You want to go out there to that world will bury you, not the mountain. That world will bury, that world with all of the vulgarity and all of the coarseness and all of the ugliness of that world. You want that? That's what you really want? You sure you want that? Go ahead. It's up to you. But if a person then learns Torah, if a person lives a Torah life, sure there are restrictions. You can't turn a light on Shabbos, and you can't drive your car, and you can't eat shellfish. Yeah, of course there are restrictions. Of course there are restrictions, and some of them are not so easy. On the other hand, there are two choices here. You want no restrictions? So look what the world looks like. That really what you want? That's the world. That's the world you want. So the Gemara is telling you, and therefore Rav Yosef is celebrating on Shavuot with a piece of meat, because it's a Torah life that allows a person to enjoy this. Ironically, that a person enjoys this world, and if at the end, then a person has that reward, the abstract reward, the world to come. But at the end, the Gemara is telling you, yeah, there's a big misconception here. That's a misconception people make. They make this mistake all the time. All the secular people, they look at us and they think, oh, hey, poor frummies. Well, poor frummies. I don't know. We got what do you call it? We're eating good. We're living good. We don't feel like I'm missing anything. That's what the Gemara wants. All right. Next week we're going to do what do you call it? We'll go back to the part we have to do. We'll only have two sessions on Parshas. Just 1 second, Ellen. We only have 2 sessions on Parshas Naso. Okay. Just want to very quickly again remind anybody who's interested that if anybody's watching on Torah anytime or on Google, so we have the Helping Your Son Succeed in Gemara Learning, which are pointers for parents whose sons are struggling with or having difficulty with Gemara learning, which they learn in school. I'll hold it up again. There you go. Helping Your Sons with Gemara Learning, which is always a challenge because kids have to succeed in Gemara. It's very difficult. That's available. And we have the Shidduch investigation questions for parents who are trying to find Shidduchim for their kids and are having trouble getting straight answers to their questions. So we have tips and pointers. Both are available at my email, Dovid B. Kaplan, B as in, everybody, baseball, basketball, badminton, busted bridges in Baltimore. And so anybody who wants, each one is $12, and you could email me and we'll send it to you. All right, in the meantime, next week we're back to Parshas Naso. Okay.
Thank you.